Actually, I was showing the video. Remember, telling you the teacher names place at the end of March. Yeah. Okay, I'm later. 6:17, 5 days later. I was somewhere.
Dave did a nice job building it.
Yeah. I'm not being absolutely, there's only been sold over 400,000 this year.
Well, the one that,
In the month, then we have some really good record. Hi, guys.
the one that, what's her name owns, Craig Hill's sister sold to the.
John, how are you?
husband.
Good. More hunting this weekend, huh?
Give a little break.
No, we're,
Awesome.
It's a reporter.
Yeah.
Or five.
oh, is it? Okay, yeah.
He bought it for 4K. It's a little bit. But the guy, it's the evidence house for someone that's building it over $1 million.
Shout out to Pat and asked me to leave the advice loop.
That's the biggest issue.
It was,
Yeah.
yeah, it was over $1 million. Yeah, that's what I thought.
I had him on my list.
Who built it?
Ms. Baker, I believe we are ready in 3, 2, 1.
Good evening. I'd like to welcome you to the Wairika City Council meeting for October 7th, 2025. And will Lieutenant Dirksen please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Good evening, Wairika City Council members. Please let me know you are in attendance by saying aye. Councilmember McCoy,
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton, Councilmember Claire,
Aye.
Councilmember Baker,
Present.
and Councilmember Davis is absent. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, item number 3 is approval of the agenda. What are the wishes of the council?
Council Middleton, I'll make the motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second the motion. All in favor, please signify by saying yes.
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 Yes. Motion passes with Councilmember Davis absent. Presentations. This evening, we have Ryan Horvath from Teen Challenge, and I'll invite you up to the podium. And Pastor Horvath is going to be talking about his program that he has here in Wairika. Welcome.
Thank you. All right. Thank you for the invitation. I am Ryan Horvath. I've been a pastor in the community for many years, but at this time, I fill the role of director of Adult and Teen Challenge. And I will explain that here as I continue to present, but I wanted to say thank you to John Elsnab for the invitation to come and do a presentation. And of course, I've known Mayor Colleen Baker for many years, and we've done much together and plan on a whole lot more. So I just really appreciate this opportunity. And honestly, as I'm sitting here, I've never even seen the inside of this building. So I'm like, after all these years, I want to give an apology, honestly, but to the city of Wairika, as funny as that might sound. So I hope that this presentation can bring some smiles and some laughs, but honestly, there's been a shift in the way we do things at Teen Challenge, and it's just a perfect time to have this connection. So I'm very thankful. The timing is perfect to come and do this presentation. So for those of you that are not familiar with Teen Challenge is a global recovery work that's been in play for over 65 years. It started in New York City in the late 40s, early 50s by a man, the name of David Wilkerson. And so at this point, over 65 years later, we're starting one in Wairika, which is honestly borderline. I'm going to go ahead and call it a miracle because teen challenges generally start in urban settings. And so to do a teen challenge in a rural community like Wairika is magnificent. So I'm just happy to be a part of it. And again, like I said, I'm happy to be presenting it to you because I really believe that there's something pretty special going on in our city. We've done a lot of work at the Hill for the past several years. We were doing it as a church as well, but that's the shift that I'm talking about. We've done a lot of street work with obviously the addicted and the broken, people with life controlling issues, people coming out of jail. And so to now not be going to the Hill, we've really gone into a mode of preparation and vision and trying to figure out what is our purpose. And I really believe that is one of the main reasons why we're here, why I'm here presenting to you. And John came and met with me in the office, and I told him, I said, well, we haven't served the city, and I think in the way that really we'd like to. And so we have a great army of volunteers, not to mention our staff, interns, and of course our students. And I told John, I said, we really want to serve the city. That's what I feel like we're being led to do. And of course, John's like, huh, sounds good. And so just as a starter, we were sharing with Paul earlier, one of the things that we're looking at is, I suppose, kind of giving a facelift to the tribal kind of hut or building next to the fire station. And so that's just something that we were excited to kind of come to terms with, and we were both in agreement that would be a great way to launch. But what we see is that's just a perfect opportunity to get started, right? So what I'm saying to you is this is kind of like what we hope to be a long-term arrangement where we're serving the city in whatever way we can as volunteers and whatever that looks like. So we are a residential reentry program. And so we are a 6-month program as far as our residential component is concerned. And when I say reentry, we started out a reentry about a year ago. We opened in July, we opened our doors to the residential component of our program here in Wairika. And we then very quickly turned from a reentry into a full-fledged program. Without trying to create too much confusion, there are big differences to the way those programs are run. And so what we did was we went back to the 6-month residential component of being a reentry. And if there's questions to that, and I'm sorry for kind of leaving that open-ended, but I'm telling you that because this part of recovery work is, I don't want to say absent, but it's missing in Teen Challenge on a global scale. And what I'm talking about is 6-month instead of 12-month or 18-month programs. We're finding that we're needing to reach people with an intense approach, but a smaller time frame. And so we're starting to see its productivity. Since we've been here in Wairika with our residential component open, we've already had 5 graduates. That's pretty, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but we're having an impact. So I hope that is encouraging to y'all. And it's something that we're really working hard to figure out, to scale up, to scale back. One of the ways we're doing that is we're going into the jail with multiple groups. And so we have trained facilitators that are going into the jail and doing both men and women with the Living Free curriculum that we offer to our outreach groups. And then we do community groups, and we do that also with the Living Free. I've also trained and equipped facilitators for those groups. We do both men and women groups, and we also do family groups. So that addresses a whole array of life controlling issues. And then finally, when it comes to our outreach, the thing that we're getting ready to start that I was talking with John about and a little bit with Mayor Colleen Baker is we're putting a greenhouse up, which is a 25 by 40-foot greenhouse that we hope to do a whole lot of work with the city, a whole lot of community work, and just different ways to try to serve the community. And I'm calling it Ag for Recovery. So one of the components that is very big in our program is work. And so when the guys come into the program, we do a lot of work. Another component of the program when it comes to work is we do burning projects on private land. And so the Forest Service sets up contracts with private landowners. Many of you are probably aware of this. And a group comes in and does the thinning, and they do the piling, and then we come in and do the burning. And so that's a pretty important part of our program. So those are some of the ins and outs of our outreach. We're also a referral program. And so if somebody comes into our program or at least comes into contact with me or one of my interns or a staff member and we can't help them, we do a referral. And so that's a very intense part of our program. So we're able to cover a lot of ground in the referral process. Just to let you guys know, there is nobody that comes to us that we say is not help, right? So whoever comes to us, if we can't serve them, we're going to find out who can. We're going to, if we can't give them help, we're going to find out where they can get help. We have great connections with the tribe. They've sent us a number of men to go into the program. We're very excited about that. And so it's, you know, that whole aspect of referral is something that I believe also has been missing, but we're a part of a larger network. It's called Norwest Cal Nevada. And so that's a way for us to send men to Las Vegas. If necessary, we can send men to Sacramento, to Oakland. We send women to Happy Valley, which is just south of Redding and Anderson. I'm sure some of you know that area pretty well. So those are all, we can do adolescents because in California, you can't do people under the age of 18. So we do adolescents, boys and girls in Nevada. We have great connections and great programs. In Reno Sparks, we do the adolescent boys. And in Ely, Nevada, we do the adolescent girls. We just had a gala. I'm going to kind of round out here. And then if y'all want to do any kind of a Q&A or anything like that, if somebody wants to ask any questions, I'm trying to end quickly here. But we did a gala fundraising event just recently, and we had, I would say, probably 5 or 6 churches, organizations, and agencies that rarely ever coming together to make a difference in our community on behalf of those that are suffering from addiction. So I just wanted you to know, thank you for the invitation. I've got a whole lot more to share, but I suppose I can end with, do you want to do a Q&A? I don't know if any kind of question and answer. I'm not sure, but
We typically just leave it at the presentation.
got it.
So
Sure. Good.
thank you so much.
I brought cards over here, and I decided when I walked into the area I was with Paul, and I said, I'll just leave it with the business cards. So thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good to meet you all. And I'm sorry to boogie on you. I've got a wife waiting for me. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Public comment. Public participation is welcome and invited at all city council meetings. This time is set aside for residents to address the city council on matters listed on the consent agenda, as well as other items not included on the regular agenda. If your comments concern an item noted on the regular agenda, please address the council when that item is open for public comment. The city requests that persons addressing the city council refrain from making personal, slanderous, profane, excuse me, or disruptive remarks. Please speak into the microphone from the podium. The podium electronically adjusts up and down to accommodate the speaker. Please address the council as a whole. Please state your name for the record prior to providing your comments. And if you have documents to present, please provide a minimum of 7 copies. These become a public record. Please limit your remarks to 5 minutes. And since council is unable to take action on issues not on the agenda, your matter may be referred to staff for follow-up or be placed on a future agenda. The public comment period is not intended to be a question and answer period or conversations with the council or city staff. Do we have any public comment tonight?
I'm not quite sure if this is the appropriate time to make a public comment. I wanted to comment on the consent agenda item C. Is this okay to do it this
Yes.
time? Or this is appropriate? Okay, that motion is to adopt the City of Wairika United Against Hate proclamation as presented and proclaiming October 19th, 25th, 2025 as United Against Hate Week. My comments are not intended to be disrespectful to anybody regarding this, but I think my feeling is to start out with a proclamation and using the word against is negative and hate is negative. And so I would like to make a recommendation and a suggestion that perhaps we change that and do something else. And I would like to see something very positive because I don't think of Siskiyou County and the people in Siskiyou County as hateful. So I'd like to make a suggestion that we make that week a proclamation of doing random acts of kindness for a whole week. Think how fun that would be and how you would be thinking and being mindful of what kinds of things that you can do for your fellow citizens that would be kind and disrespectful. So that's what I would like to see happen. That would be something that would be good for our children, for them to think about how they can be respectful and kind to each other and other people without even people asking or expecting it. A good example of that would be, for instance, when I was in a parking lot in the grocery store and I was putting my groceries away, someone came up to me and asked me, can I put your cart away for you? I was walking today on a public road and 2 ladies stopped in their cars and they said, "Dear, are you okay? Do you need help?" These are things that don't cost you anything, and it's very positive. So that's what my suggestion would be, is not to be disrespectful to the people who presented this hate against hate, but I think we ought to do something positive and let's say random acts of kindness for a whole week. That would be a lot of fun, and we would probably be the only city doing that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, if I could just remind members to please state their name for the record when doing public comment, please.
Thank you.
I'm Kimberly Abbott, and I wrote my letter because I get nervous and I figure it's easier to read it to you than trying to talk to you. So,
Ms. Abbott,
yes.
raise the
Yeah,
podium.
do that.
And speak into the microphone, please. Thank you.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I am here to respectfully request a waiver or variance permitting my husband and I to retain a storage container located on our property at 1001 Jackson Street. The container has been positioned behind our barn for approximately 16 years and is completely out of view from both Jackson Street and French Street, as well as from neighboring properties. We were unaware that the container constituted a code violation until we recently received a notice from Mr. Ranjit Mann. I reached out to Mr. Mann via email today to inquire how the matter came to his attention, as the container is not visible from public or adjacent property. Although I have not yet received a response, I suspect the notice may be related to a recent visit to our property by 2 inspectors who were inspecting the foundation for a shed that is associated with our ongoing solar project. Unfortunately, our experience navigating the solar project has been challenging and stressful with multiple setbacks, including the rescission of our initial permit and ongoing approval issues that have significantly delayed progress. Receiving this new violation notice has added to the strain and feels disproportionate given our longstanding compliance and the non-visible, non-disruptive nature of the container. We are more than willing to provide documentation, including email correspondence, to clarify the circumstances and demonstrate our good faith efforts to comply with city regulations. We sincerely hope that the council will consider our request for a waiver or variance so that we may continue our project without additional hardship. And I have pictures if you'd like to see where from French Street or Jackson Street, you cannot see the container on our property. Thank you.
Thank you.
She can submit them, can't she? She can-
Yes. Mrs. Abbott, I just want to acknowledge to you that you can submit your pictures through the city clerk and they'll become part of the record.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't make that raptor get out of order.
My name is Jennifer Silvera. I live on Yama Street in Wairika. And I just wanted to clarify something about United Against Hate Week, which is the word united. And I would really love to have Random Acts of Kindness Week as well. I think that would be wonderful to have more kindness. But the fact is that it's important for people to get together, not individually do random acts of violence, but also get together and learn about how we can prevent hate in our community. And we're not any different than any other community that way. And getting people together, like this year, we're going to be having an event at the Wairika Library. And there will be a speaker, a professor from Ashland, whose mother was a Holocaust survivor. And she wrote a book, and he had that book posthumously published. And he's going to be talking about the message of hope that helped her survive that experience, and how it's very important for people to unite and come together under dire circumstances like that. So if that might make you understand a little bit more about where the wording comes from. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jan Osborne, Wairika. I came tonight to give you a little bit of an update on Greenhorn Park and some of our other parks. We still do not have a park host at Greenhorn. I hope there are people who are applying, but my experience has been that the community that has developed at Greenhorn Park, those of us who are there daily, we're doing a pretty good job without the park host. Now, the city maintenance people remove the doggy buckets, and people are not quite used to having to pack it in, pack it out. So we're having a little problem there, but people are getting the message that, hey, bring a plastic bag. I mean, we do have the dispensers are still there. I don't know if they're going to stay, but if you use one of those bags, take it home with you. Don't leave it on the ground. And we're also having pretty good work with keeping the park neat and tidy. Just the other day, I heard 2 different people say, this park's looking better than I've ever seen it. And that's because people are caring about the park. Most people. And this is one of the things I would like to bring to your attention or ask for you to do. In a newsletter, just if you could say, remember, clean up your mess. That's, if you read the book, Everything I Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten, review that. One of the things is clean up after yourself. And this is something that has not improved too much. Well, I have to say that, yes, it has improved. But just the other day, when I was picking up litter in Lower Greenhorn, I found 2 knives, a chef's knife lying in the grass. Had I not been watching, and had I been wearing sandals, that could have been a bad thing. Fortunately, I was watching because I was looking for litter, but I didn't expect to see a knife in the ground. And then farther on by a tree up by the picnic table that's closest to the entrance to Lower Greenhorn, there was another knife stuck in a tree. I took both those knives and I disposed of them. But I think we need to remind people, most people know how to take care of things, but it doesn't hurt to remind, and maybe a few signs. I asked Ben Miller to put up some signs that say, pack it in, pack it out, or words to that effect. That hasn't happened. I don't know if he will do it. He said he would consider it. But Greenhorn Park is a treasure, and we all need to work to keep it looking really spiffy, I think. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? I'll move on to item 6, the consent agenda. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and non-controversial and will be enacted by one motion unless any member of the council wishes to remove an item for discussion.
This is Councilman McCoy. I'll make the motion to accept the consent agenda as it is listed.
I have a motion by Councilmember McCoy.
Second.
And a second by Councilmember Claire to approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Yes. Motion passes with Councilmember Davis absent. Public hearings. I'm going to go ahead and read the public hearing protocol and then introduce the topic of our public hearing tonight. So this format goes as follows. The mayor will describe the purpose of the public hearing. City staff will then provide the staff report. City staff will respond to questions from the city council. And the mayor will open the public hearing, and then public wanting to comment will come to the podium, provide the city clerk with their name and address and provide their comments. At that point, the mayor will close the public hearing, and then city council will debate and act on the item. And tonight's public hearing is being presented by our assistant city manager. And it is the introduction and first reading of an ordinance to amend Titles 5, 9, and 16 of the Wairika Municipal Code to allow non-storefront retail medicinal cannabis delivery. Ms. Lucchese.
Thank you. Thank you, council members. This is the first reading of the proposed ordinance changes. As noted at your last meeting, we introduced some of the proposed changes for more broad input and then held a short meeting after that the next day to collect input, which is listed in the staff report from general public. Tonight is another opportunity to collect public input as well at the public hearing. So before you tonight, we're requesting essentially 3 different actions, which is to open the public hearing, take public input, close the public hearing, and then we are requesting the acceptance of the first reading by title only, please. It is a long title. I do apologize. But essentially, this is a this would be the first reading for a couple of different changes. So this was instigated through a change in state regulation around non-storefront retail, which is the delivery of medicinal cannabis only, which is required under state law now. And so this is through that. In addition to that, the city did get a grant to do the proposed changes along with public outreach, as we discussed earlier. So again, just to clarify for the general public, the impetus of the changes is for state law. And the grant does not compel us to make all of these changes. The grant does compel us to do a social equity program, which we discussed at the last meeting that we will touch on today. At your last meeting, there were 3 changes that were requested. We have pretty much made 2 of those changes. The third change was the removal of the financial assistance as part of the social equity program. Which in discussion with the city attorney, that would be discussed when you get to the fee setting portion of our activities as a council. And so essentially, once the ordinances are adopted, we have a ratification period, and then we come back with a resolution for how much those applications are going to cost everyone. Those application fees are based off of the time it takes staff to analyze applications, as well as any other type of reporting that we have to do. So like inspections of facilities, things like that. So we don't have a fee determined at this time because we don't have an assessment on implementation yet. We do that after you adopt the ordinances. We do that practice because you could make changes. And so for me to propose and say, oh, it's going to take me this long, but then you make changes and then it may take a different amount of time. So we'll be able to address that at that time for the financial assistance piece. I do have clarification from the Department of Cannabis Control that we are not required to offer the financial assistance if we do not choose to. So you can discuss that at a later time, but it would require an amendment to the grant application, which is doable, which we can do that at that time. So going back through it, just a general overview of the proposal. So titles 5 and 9 are the primary changes. Title 16 is concerned with zoning for cannabis. And as we proposed at the last meeting, there have been no changes made to the Title 16 recommendation, which is to cite cannabis uses with similar uses. And so that is your C2 downtown commercial with the historic district prohibited. We are recommending the historic district be prohibited because the nature of that district is for active retail, for downtown events and things like that. We did not feel it was a compatible use within that historic district, so we're recommending not to include it there. So it would be C2 downtown commercial, CH commercial highway, and M1 light industrial. So there are similar types of uses within those zoning codes that would line up really well with this one. So again, just to reiterate, this is non-storefront retail medicinal delivery only. So essentially these sites will not be open to the general public. They will not have on-site sales. So it does not operate like a retailer that we would assume with a storefront cannabis dispensary or another type of retailer that we have within the city. So that's the summary of the Title 16 proposals. We did also put a section in there that they cannot use shipping containers if they are in the commercial and M1 districts as part of those updates, just due to the security factor of those shipping containers in that context. Additionally, Title 5 outlines the cannabis permitting process. And so essentially this is to inform staff on requirements for application materials, processing timeframes, appeal pieces. If someone is not granted a license, we have to have some of those pieces in there. And so Title 5 informs city staff and applicants who are interested in applying for that type of license what the process is going to look like. It also sets a cap of 3 licenses for the entirety of the city of Wairika. So we would only allow 3 separate businesses to get those 3 licenses. It does also have other documentation within Title 5 on renewals and operating procedures. Those operating procedures and standards are based off of the state regulations, which are the minimum standard. We don't recommend going above and beyond those standards at this time. If you would like to go above and beyond operating standards, we have to be careful with not going too restrictive that you essentially prevent the business from being able to operate. And then we would also recommend not doing additional regulation within the operating standards because of staff implementation time for reviewing those operation standards. The state does go and inspect these facilities, but it's not nearly as frequently as we would be doing. So if we're looking for a lot of different things, it adds to the cost of the city and implementation. Title IX changes are the simplest changes, although the most cumbersome in terms of the number of pages within your packet. So we're looking at code chapters 9.25, 9.26, and 9.27. And the cleanup in these chapters is really moving over to the contemporary term of cannabis rather than the use of marijuana. It's not an industry standard anymore. Additionally, you don't see the word marijuana used within the state regulation. And so we like to keep the definitions of things similar so that there's no confusion in interpretation between state, city employees, and applicants and operators. So going back to it, we did make the additional change of lowering the number of hours to mimic the pharmacy hours. There are a couple of different pharmacy hours, the most restrictive being 6 p.m. In consultation with the city attorney, we do have to be careful again with restricting the amount of hours as not to be too restrictive under the state regulation. And so I believe we threw in an 8 p.m. End time, which is similar to the majority of the pharmacies that operate within the city. And you had a third change that we were able to make as well. Oh, and we did reduce the technical assistance hours for the social equity program from 5 hours to 3 hours. So we did make all of those. We are able to do that. And then, as I said before, the fee waiver option would be discussed during the fee resolution setting at a later date. So at this time, do you have any questions?
Okay, I'll open it up to the council for questions for staff. Mr. McCoy?
No questions. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, we have no questions this evening. And so at this point in time, I'll open the public hearing to accept public comment.
Louise Gliotto, Wairika. I'm not happy about this, and I know most of you know that because I talk about it every time I come, and I'd like to just repeat and go over how this was passed. It was passed with only 2 council members voting for it, with only 3 council members present. It was before the holidays. It was a nasty night, very cold and rainy, and hardly anybody was here. They had 3 council members here. 2 of you were missing. Mayor Baker was missing, and so was Drake Davis was missing also. And so it was passed by 2 people. And previously, when you were going to vote on this, the mayor, who was then Mr. Middleton, said that he didn't want to vote on it at that meeting because there were only 4 staff members available. And so he wanted to postpone it to another meeting when he had more people available. And then he went ahead and did it that meeting. So we had asked at that time not to vote on it, and it got voted on. Secondly, I reread the ordinance and I reread the state law on that. And it to my understanding, is the attorney on? Is he listening? Is he here today? Okay, so he can correct me if I'm wrong. My understanding is of the state law is that we're not allowed to impede in any way the delivery of medical marijuana. And our own city planner or assistant manager also made a statement saying that there is no difference between medical marijuana and recreational marijuana. And I do agree with her on that, because the prescription, if you want, it's not a prescription, it's a recommendation. It can't be a prescription because it doesn't meet the 5 criteria that the FDA says that a medication has to meet in order to be considered a medication or a prescription. So my thought is that when the council agreed to apply for the grant, it was my understanding that the grant was the one that was saying that we had to promote this. We had to let the people know. We had to do public outreach. We had to have, we had to have town hall meetings about it. We had to do outreach to get people to do that. So my thought is that I don't know if the grant is a done deal, But if we could undo the grant, then all we would have to do, again, my understanding is not impede and to make it easy for people to get it. So there are, if we had a delivery person, situation here or a building here to do that. Also, when I was doing my research last year, I called several cities. I called Dunsmuir and Weed and Mount Shasta, and all of them had dispensaries there that would deliver and have been delivering to Wairika. So it's not as though the medical marijuana people were not getting their medicine. They were able to get it. So that's my comment on that. I would, if there is a way to not accept that grant so that we don't have to do outreach and promote it. I don't think government, and especially city council, should be promoting drugs. Thank you.
Jan Osborne, Wairika. I am here to tell you that in the last several months, over a year now, I think it is, I have learned more about marijuana and laws concerning it than I ever wanted to know. Recently, I learned that you can order marijuana by mail. There is a company that sends and ships it to Wairika. Now, they're using a legal loophole to do that, but there is no problem for people to get marijuana. And as has been mentioned before, recreational and medicinal marijuana are the same thing. It's just ridiculous that we're even thinking about doing this to our city. We have enough problems. We just heard Ryan Horvath talk about people who are addicted and what they're doing to help those people. And we're giving more ammunition for addiction. Plus, we're endangering public health, public safety. We already have plenty of impaired drivers in Wairika. I mean, I don't know how many of you drive around very much, but I don't know how many times I've seen people run stop signs. And they're talking on their phones. But a point I want to make is, again, back to this, that people can get this in the mail. Doesn't have to be delivered. They can order THCA, and I just learned what that is. It's a big, long cannabidiol oxalate, I think. And you can decarb it. I mean, you can order that and it can go through the mail, but when you get it, you can put it in the oven at 240 degrees, and that gets rid of the little A part and it releases the THC. And then you've got full-blown marijuana. There's no problem with people getting marijuana without the city going through all of this business. And I also want to ask you to please reread that whole ordinance. I found grammatical and spelling errors galore when I was looking at it. I don't know who we paid to do that, but they should have to refund some of the money. Thank you.
Do you have any other public comment? If not, I'm going to close the public hearing and bring it back to the council for deliberation. Mr. Middleton?
Mayor Baker, I just want to clarify and for the record, and I know we're not supposed to answer, but it is a public hearing, so it's a little different public comment. I did not say that, but she is accusing me of bringing back that meeting. I want it on the record that she can go back and look at those meetings. That it was Drake Davis who wanted all of us here. He admitted that night that he would not be here for that meeting, that we approved this. Unfortunately, Ms. Baker was absent due to a family emergency. There was 3 council members here. 3 out of the 5. That's all it takes, a majority. There was no backdoor dealing. We have business that goes on. If one person was missing, Drake Davis tonight, we continue. So we continue on our business, but for the record, go back and look at those meetings. Thank you. So we've been discussing this a long time. I think it's long overdue, and I think we proceed with this ordinance. For me, for the record, that I think City of Wairika needs to step up. We have retail everywhere around us. We have retail that will come at a different time. Maybe when we become a new council, but I'm for this, and I urge the council to move forward with this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McCoy?
I would just also point out that we had a time there where I was gone, I guess 60 or 64 days. And Drake was gone, I think 75 days. And so it would have been, during that time, it would have been difficult. You three can't stop doing business because we're gone. And we are not the US House where a person can vote and then go back. They have 24 hours to go back and change their vote off the record. So they look good on TV, but then they go back and they change it from a yes to a no and get what they want. They play both ends of the spectrum. And this is just something that we may not all be in agreement on. And I mean, I'm not in agreement on everything that we do here. And sometimes I vote for it because it's something that the council overall looks at. And this is something that the state is requiring us to do. And as a fifth generation Californian, I've seen my state change. Doesn't matter what's going on in it. I've seen my state change, and I make a choice to stay here because even in spite of that. And so this is one of the things that, what we may have to accept, even though it may not be personally what we need. We want to be, we need to be in step with the laws of California. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Claire? Okay, I don't have any comments to make at this time either. So I will, on the agenda itself, is the recommended motion, and I will put it out to the council. What are the wishes of the council?
Council Middleton, I will make the motion to introduce and waive the full reading and ordinance to amend titles 5, 9, and 16 of the Wairika Municipal Code to allow non-storefront retail medical, cannabis delivery. Forrest says read the following ordinance by title only. I'm going to read it because that's what it says. An ordinance of the City of Wairika, or City Council of the City of Wairika, California, adding Chapter 5.30 Cannabis Business Activities to Title 5 Business Regulations and Licenses to regulate medicinal cannabis non-storefront retail businesses, amending Chapter 16.100 Medical Marijuana Distribution Facilities, amending Chapter 9.25 Medical Marijuana Distribution Facilities, amending Chapter 9.26 Medical Marijuana Cultivation, Distribution, and Delivery Prohibited, amending Chapter 9.27 Non-Medical Marijuana Cultivation, Regulation, and Prohibition of commercial cannabis activity, manufacturing, testing, dispensing, sales, distribution, and delivery with all zoning districts in the City of Wairika, and finding this action is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, pursuant to the CEQA guidelines section 15378.
Councilman McCoy, I'll second the motion.
Councilmember Middleton, can you repeat your motion? No, just kidding. All right.
That was all. Let me do some more water.
Will the clerk please take a roll call vote?
All those in favor, I'm not going to reread it. Sorry. Please signify by saying aye. Councilmember McCoy,
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton,
Aye.
Councilmember Claire, Councilmember Baker.
No.
Thank you. The motion passes.
The motion passes.
With the Councilmember Baker voting as no and Councilmember Davis absent.
Thank you very much. Moving on, item 8, city business. This is the assistant city manager again. And this is discussion and possible action regarding adoption of a resolution approving a lot line adjustment.
Thank you. So normally, lot line adjustments do not come to the city council. They're normally done ministerially, but because this one is associated with a city project and associated sales, it is coming to you. So the city council is recommended to adopt the resolution that's presented today. Essentially, the city of Wairika is doing a water supply and storage improvement project that is immediately adjacent to Mr. Wolf's property. The city owns the property underneath our water tank up in that area. And we are proposing to do a new 1,000,000-gallon water tank. And essentially, to be able to build the new water tank, we are not able to take the old water tank offline in that process. We would put our water system into jeopardy at that point. And so essentially what we're doing is we're doing a very complicated land swap through boundary line adjustments with Mr. Wolf. And so we have been working with him for a couple of years now on this project, but essentially we will be expanding our property to take over some of his property during the construction. We will be building the new tank on this larger property. And then at the end of the project, when the old tank has been decommissioned and removed, we will then be moving the lot to make it smaller to only have our new tank. And then we will be giving that other piece of property to Mr. Wolf as part of the transaction that occurs here. In addition to $9,100. Essentially, Mr. Wolf will be giving up more land than what we are giving him, but in the process, we are also removing kind of this hole punched out property that's currently landlocked by his property. There are also 2 easements that are prepared as part of this property transaction that are necessary for us for ongoing utility maintenance and improvement on his property and adjacent. There are 2 other land deals that are being vetted through our city attorney at this time related to this project, but this is essentially the largest piece of the project that is holding up us moving forward with this. This is a contingency of your funding agreement with the State Department of Water Resources. And so essentially, if we do not enter into this property transfer agreement, we would essentially have to redo the entire project engineering because we'd have to find a new space. We would have to go find new property to be able to do this, and you would lose out on the awarded grant for the drinking water project. So there are a number of attachments. If you have any questions, I think this one is a little bit more technical, but essentially what we're doing is that expansion, the building, the removal, and then the reduction of that property as part of this.
Thank you. Does the council have any questions?
Do we have the easements already in place?
No.
Ready to go?
The easement language and the easement map. So all of the surveying documentation is complete for all of the boundary line adjustments. So there's about 14 different attachments prepared by our city surveyor. So they're all prepared, ready to go. They just need approval of this agreement, and then they'll all be recorded.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'll open it up to public comment at this time. There's no public comment. I'll bring it back to the council for action.
Councilman Middleton, I will make the motion to adopt, excuse me, Resolution 2025-37, the City Council of the City of Wairika approving a lot line adjustment agreement concerning property at assessor parcel numbers 053-662-030-000 and 053-662, excuse me, 080-000, and authorizing acceptance of the real property from Robert Wolf.
I second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Middleton, second by Councilmember Claire to adopt Resolution 2025-37. Will the clerk please take a roll call vote?
All those in favor of adopting resolution 2025-37, please signify by saying aye. Councilmember McCoy,
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton,
Aye.
Councilmember Claire, Councilmember Baker.
I'm abstaining as Mr. Wolf and I are family members.
Okay. Thank you. The motion passes with Councilmember Baker abstaining and Councilmember Davis absent.
Thank you. Okay, item 8B, discussion and possible action on the future of the Planning Commission. And this is our planning manager.
Good evening, council members. This is Alia Roca Lezra, your planning manager. Tonight, we're having our second discussion on the future of the Planning Commission. The purpose of the discussion tonight is to provide an opportunity for the City Council to discuss and provide direction on the future of the Planning Commission. This matter was presented to Council at the September 16th, 2025 regular meeting to seek direction, and the matter was tabled by the Council. We've come back with some updated information per Council's request. Two options were presented at the last meeting. The first to dissolve the Planning Commission, and the second to maintain the Planning Commission. We're also adding a third option to maintain the Planning Commission with contingency not to have a year hiatus and bring the Planning Commission back in a year. At the September 16th, 2025 City Council meeting, the city attorney advised that if the council chooses to keep the commission, that the code be amended to clarify that during any period where there are fewer than 3 planning commissioners serving, that the city council act as the planning commission. As identified by the city attorney at the September 16th City Council meeting, both options, the first to dissolve the Planning Commission and the second/third to keep the Planning Commission, these would all require code amendments. The city attorney addressed that the role of the Planning Commission is required to be assigned under state law, but that the City Council can serve in the capacity of Planning Commission. As to option 2, the city attorney recommended that if the council chooses to keep a dedicated planning commission, that the council adopt a code amendment to Wairika Municipal Code Section 2.20.010 that specifies that when there are insufficient number of planning commissioners serving, that the city council can act as the planning commission until the membership is above quorum. That amendment would be as follows. The city attorney included language as underlined in the staff report. So this amendment may be presented as an urgency ordinance at the next city council meeting. So the recommendation, we have 3 options tonight. 1, dissolve the planning commission. 2, keep the planning commission and incorporate any requested changes. And 3, kind of is an extension of 2, is to incorporate any requested changes after putting planning commission on a hiatus for a year. Staff have created a general plan, a work plan for the council at their request. Cindy, can you put that slide on the screen for the public? Any Star Wars fans in the room? So as you can see, we've broken it down into 4 quarters. Quarter 1 would start in January 2026. For the first quarter, staff would research and develop an outreach plan for attracting planning commissioners, and staff would also work on ordinance amendments during quarter 1. Quarter 2, April through June of 2026. Staff would then implement the outreach plan created in the first quarter and would continue the ordinance amendments. Quarter 3, July through September 2026, staff would develop planning commissioner onboarding training. And in quarter 4, October through December 2026, staff would appoint and train new commissioners. in time for that 1 year mark. That is the end of my staff report. I'm here for discussion and questions.
Thank you. Does the council have any questions or comments?
I do not. Thank you.
Thank you.
Quick question. So if we can, is it possible, I would know we have up to a year, but is there a way we could speed it up if possible? Like if things are clicking along, is it possible to do it in less than a year? And also, if say we can't get past and we're just gonna have to be on the year deal, could we have a meeting, like a quarterly meeting, a council presentation about where we are as far as the timeline, if we're on track, or if we're ahead of the curve on things like that, so we can make sure we're targeted and we're getting back on track as soon as possible?
Yes, to your second point, absolutely. Staff can definitely provide quarterly updates on the progress of the Planning Commission revival. And as to your first point, can it be, sped up? I believe with the language not to exceed a year, that provides a bit of flexibility. So if staff are ahead of the game, my understanding is that we would kind of revive the Planning Commission when we're ready.
Thank you.
Councilmember McCoy?
The only thing that I could not be supportive of is in the event that if let's say we're I'm looking for it right here. If we're looking at a time where there's a lack of quorum, I would not want the city council to step in and act as the planning commission. That's not what we're created for, and that's not what planning commission. So I cannot support that. That's one thing that I wouldn't want to see. Thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Jarrett? Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Andrew Jarrett, City Attorney. So the issue before you right now is I didn't hear that it reported, maybe I just missed it, that you literally don't have any planning commissioners at this point.
Correct.
There was a resignation from my understanding. Is that correct, Juliana?
Yes, we did receive a resignation letter from our last planning commissioner, Ann Oland. Her and her husband will be relocating, is therefore no longer eligible to serve.
Okay, so state law requires every city to have a planning commission to do planning commission issues. State law says that it's the city council unless it creates a planning commission. The Wairika City Council long ago has created a planning commission. Unfortunately, you don't have members who are on that commission, and yet you still have planning commission activities that need to happen also under state law and under your own city code. So you're kind of between a rock and a hard place that you've created this as a city, that you're as a city council not currently slated as acting as the planning commission, but state law says you can do that. So you really have two options. One, you take on those duties as planning commission, or the other way is that you keep the planning commission as is and have members serve as a planning commission. One problem we have under more recent state codes are timelines and shot clocks and the Permit Streamlining Act that require planning commissions and cities, therefore, to act in very short order. So having planning commissions only meet quarterly, having planning commissions that are half-staffed or staffed below quorum, that's where we see the real problem. So what's proposed is essentially either you have an ordinance that would be very easy to adopt. Mind you, this will not take 2 quarters to create and adopt an ordinance that does the following: that the city council serve as the planning commission under those circumstances where there is not a quorum of commissioners appointed. That's my recommendation. If you want to keep your planning commission effectively as is, as a minimum, you should amend your language So there's no question whatsoever that if we ever end up in a lawsuit over this, where the city council is having to act as a planning commission, that you have the right to do so. The other option would be to abolish the planning commission, either permanently or on that 1 year period. And Alia has outlined a 1 year effectively period to do some things there. I think that 1 year period, the hiring on and training aspect of it, we might need to do some refinement there. But and the ordinance adoption, there's an aspect that would need to be done that is separate and apart from the ordinance that I'm talking about, which is getting this in order immediately so that there's no question whatsoever what you're going that you as the city council can act as a planning commission and that you will do so. And so that's my recommendation at the very least, that that ordinance be adopted as an urgency ordinance with first and second reading also, and that be done effectively at the next meeting, so that there's no question whatsoever when an application comes in, what's going to happen to it, who's it going to go to, and that you will be legally sufficient to be acting as the planning commission.
Thank you, Mr. Jared. So I just want to make sure that I'm understanding what you're saying, that if we opt to keep the planning commission, the additional language to the ordinance appointing the city council to act on as the city council is not a permanent thing. It's just until we get the city planning commission back up to par. Is that correct?
Correct. That is correct. And it's because you have a history now of several years of not having a planning commission at full force and not having planning commissioners waiting in the wings, and a steady stream of applicants. It's because you have had to cancel many meetings, even when you had 4 or 5 commissioners on and appointed, they didn't always show up, or the transition from Zoom to non-Zoom meeting attendance, that was problematic, and some fell off because when that happened. And so it is my recommendation that you make this change, appointing you to act as planning commission during those times when you do not have a full quorum appointed.
Madam Mayor, may I clarify some things?
Councilmember McCoy.
Thank you. I just want to clarify some things, not with the attorney, but things that we said. I never heard anybody say we would have quarterly meetings, so I don't understand that. I heard Mr. Clare say he'd like quarterly updates, but I never heard him say he wants quarterly meetings. So that's really not an issue here. That's a moot point. We've always, again, when I was on Planning Commission, we always met once a month. My understanding is that we now want to go to 6 times a year. I don't know if that's legal or not legal. But the other thing is, nobody's disputing that the city council acts in absence of a planning commission, that we would act as a planning commission. But my point was, no, I don't want to have a full sitting planning commission and then twice a year we get told, oh, well, you guys are going to be the sitting planning commission tonight. I don't think it's a good thing. Again, there were some things said, about a history of canceling many meetings. Meeting attendance is problematic. For going back for years, I'm sorry, I was on planning commission for 7, 8 years. We didn't cancel meetings. Meeting attendance wasn't problematic. At that time, we had 7 years. So that may be, just to clarify, this is just a clarification, that may be a little of a misspeak. That may be just kind of pushing things. I know we have to do one of these things tonight. I'm not arguing that point. I would just like to be, really clear to people who are here in the gallery, people who might be watching, people who might be reading it in a newspaper article, that that some of these things may be a little bit of a reach. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I'll concede it is a reach just for me to assert that there's been a long history of cancellations. The history of cancellations I'm talking about is going since my tenure here. Cancellations, as I understand them, have been regular. The few meetings that I've been asked to attend, I would say half of those, I'm guessing here, there were several where I was slated to attend and then it was canceled because there was a lack of quorum. I think over the last 3 years, lack of quorum is a truth. Right now, you don't have a planning commission. You do not have members on your planning commission. It is not clear under your code that you would stand in the shoes. And there would be confusion. As for my statement about meeting quarterly, there have been internal discussions about meeting quarterly. It's often a common situation for it to be proposed to meet quarterly. Meeting 6 times a year, not far off from quarterly. That I believe too is there's nothing in law that says you have to meet monthly, but there are applications that come up and deadlines that come up that are shorter than 60 days. So putting it in everyone's mind and the planning commissioner's minds that they only have to show up to 6 meetings, and then say on the night of the meeting they're unable to attend. Well, now that is a 4-month period that they haven't attended. You could have another situation where deadlines are missed. And so I think Councilmember McCoy is correct and right. The general standard is for planning commissions to meet monthly, have a regular standing meeting monthly. And if nothing is needed, that meeting can be canceled. And that is my recommendation, is that you have monthly meetings on the calendar. But if nothing comes up, then and staff does not need there to be action taken, that the commissioners be excused from meeting, and we don't have meetings just for meeting's sake, but that there is a regular periodicity of when those meetings are going to happen on a monthly basis.
Mr. Jared.
Thank you. Mr. McCoy, I'm going to go ahead and open it up for other people to ask questions, and then I'll come back to you. Thank you. So, Mr. Clare, were you finished with your questions?
Just one clarifying question for Mr. Jared. So say we went with the third option that was brought up as far as the year max, as far as coming up with all the plans and steps in place. We would just act as the planning commission at that point for the duration of that time until we were able to meet quorum and open up the application process and actually have a planning commission on board. Is that correct?
That's correct. That is one of the options that right now you act as a planning commission and give it a year period to reformulate and constitute, do whatever ordinance updates need to be done to address that. And then also give that period of time for outreach to interested persons and then provide them the adequate training so that they hit the ground running and they're not, because oftentimes what happens is the planning commissioner gets sworn in and then it's on the job training and they're told no a lot as they're having great ideas in their minds during a meeting, but those ideas are contrary to state law. And so there's a lot of cities that do it that way. And so what staff is outlining is another way that you would be appointing over a year period, come up with that plan.
Madam Mayor, could I clarify maybe the actions that you would consider if you served as planning commission? Maybe that might help people understand the actions that you would consider during that time.
I'm going to go ahead and let the council ask their questions and then we will come back to you. Thank you. Anything else?
One last thing, sorry. So in going with the option of the year, would we have to have some kind of specific language in there? Say, as I mentioned before, my hope is if that is what the direction, if it does go that way, that it is done within less than a year, would there have to be some kind of specific language in there saying that we'd have to come up with if we were less than that year time frame, or is the way it's presented is satisfactory the way it is?
So as I envision this, that would be a code amendment that would say, right now you are dissolving the planning commission and will reconstitute it. And you would then bring that back. And that could be, if you end up with a flood of commissioners, that could be 3 months. That it, it doesn't need to be a year, but as the idea was floated for a 1 year period. I don't think you should put that in the city code. I think that should be done as direction to staff regarding when to bring this back to reconstitute. And let me explain the reason why. The reason why would be, let's say that you say you want to give the planning commission a rest for 1 year right now, and you write that into the city code that effective December 1, city shall serve as planning commission for a 1 year period. Well, then November 30th next year comes around and you don't have any applicants, then you have to again take action to restart this. If it just ends up that the right process for the city at this time is council acts as planning commission, then council acts as planning commission, and until such time the council doesn't want to anymore. But the goal right now is this 1 year period.
Thank you. I'm not gonna ask anything else. Sorry.
Thanks, Mr. Middleton.
Okay, and so I'm probably being repetitive with a question. So first thing is, say we put it on hiatus for 1 year, which I'm for, because I think the planning commission needs reconstruction. I think the council needs to vet people better. I was kind of lucky when I took my seat at the planning commission after I didn't make council the first time. It was only on a year and a half, was elected to my seat at city council. We had several. I mean, I was on a year and a half, almost 2 years, and I attended 6 meetings. Out of that, almost 2 years, 6 meetings. It was educational, but I had a little experience because a lot of planning commission is real estate related. I've been in real estate for 30 years. Last interview, with no offense to people who applied, I felt they answered the wrong questions that were on our questionnaire. So I think we need to have people very serious about the position. I think we needed to have a look at that. This is a very serious commitment, just like city council going on planning commission. So I think they need to really study what the commitment is, really study what it's going to be and what you're going to be deciding on. So I think we need to do a better job sitting here. And just remember, in 1 year from now, if we go 1 year, seats are going to change here. We have an election in 2026. And we know we're going to have a couple of seats changing. I think that's been made public. I know one has. So I don't know. I'm not going to speak for everybody. But we'll probably have a changing council. And so do we wait for the new people to be seated, or do the current sitting council place that new planning commission, 5 people. We've had a hard time getting 5 people, keeping people. I don't know why that is, but whether the being. So if we go for the 1 year, Mr. Jared, we go ahead and make the changes to the ordinance, or we just go ahead and say we're going to do the third, put it on hiatus, and we're going to act as the council, correct, or act as the planning commission while we go through these steps.
That's right. I mean, if what you want to do is to go full hiatus, then my recommendation would be that you take the action to do away with the planning commission and make that code amendment. And then give the direction to staff in a year from now, go through a training process, or in the interim, do the code amendment changes that are also needed for and bring those back, and do outreach and training to have a reconstituted planning commission adopted a year from now. And so it would be very clean that there is no longer a planning commission, but one will come back in a year, bring us back that with the applicants, with the training, the interest, and all of that, the cleaned up language for what a planning commission is and does, and ramp that up for a year from now. But immediately do away with the planning commission.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. So I have just a few questions. So first of all, what is staff's recommendation for the planning commission?
Staff's recommendation would be to proceed with the hiatus and allow a year to give staff time to do that training, outreach, that whole process.
Okay.
And if I could elaborate, so the proposal for the year, and one of the things I will note about Alia's timeframe is we would hopefully be appointing people by October. So if you do take a look at it, Q4 would be focused on the actual appointments in that piece. If we were to move forward with our recommendation, which is retooling it, we essentially would be redoing the entire piece. So it wouldn't just be our ordinance cleanups, which there are 32 sections in the municipal code that need to be cleaned up, generally speaking, that relate to the planning agency. But we would also be looking at the application process, as you kind of stated it. How are you interviewing? I think is a big issue, because we've interviewed probably like 4 or 5 different ways that I've heard of since I've been here since 2021. The appointment process, onboarding. So if you'll all remember, you all get an onboarding process with the city attorney, the city manager. So this is my experience from working here since November of 21. We didn't really have a training budget for planning commission when I got here. We didn't have a training recommendation. There were binders that we gave out to people, but essentially you're entrusting someone to read that, and a lot of it can be very starchy. Not the most interesting for everybody. But other types of it too is, so along with this whole process, if we were going to go with the recommendation, is I think Councilmember Middleton hit the nail on the head, is you have to answer the question of why isn't this working? And I will say you're not the only city that's having issues at this point with planning commissions or appointed boards. People are participating in civics a little bit differently nowadays. And even within the planning profession, we're having to take a look at how we engage with the public, how we engage with our planning commissions. And I think that's where essentially the proposal is starting to, is asking that question of why are people not staying with us? And part of that is having some hard conversations with previous applicants and previous appointees. It's also talking to people who might be interested and going, what are your concerns and how do we alleviate those? And I think your why is going to be very different from any other city. And so we can look at other tools and things like that that they use to answer those questions. But I think we really want to take the first quarter to really ask that why question. And I think it's even sitting with council members who served on planning commission, and getting to the root of the issue, because what we want to do is not necessarily just get a quorum, right? We want to make sure that this is a sustainable body that can be useful to the city council. It can be useful for the community at large. And the only other piece I wanted to add is that if we do the hiatus recommendation, we would still be doing public outreach for different projects before they get to you. We would still have public engagement outside of the council meeting structure, because I know that this can be very much more rigid than maybe some of our other options we have for public engagement. So I wanted to assure the council that if you were to go with the recommendation and retool it, we would still have ample opportunity for public engagement as you see fit.
Thank you. So just a couple more questions for you. Is there currently an active recruitment for planning commissioners?
Yes, there is. We have the application packets posted on our website, and we have posted on our social media as well.
Okay. And so if there are applications that have been submitted, will those remain on file during this hiatus?
Yes, absolutely. We've received 3 or 4 applications, and we are filing those. And we will reach out. Staff are just waiting to, move forward in any capacity with applicants until we receive direction from council.
Thank you. And when you discuss training for the new commissioners, would that be something that would be adopted from state agencies? I mean, I personally would hate to see several months put in by our staff members to come up with a training that maybe could be simply adopted from state agencies or other organizations.
So generally, what staff will do when developing new materials is do research into other cities and agencies' processes. So that is something we would definitely do is look for existing materials so as not to reinvent the wheel. So definitely, yes.
Additionally, you would be involved during that process. So if we were to go that route and suspend it for a year, you would be involved with all of these pieces that we would move forward. Because again, you're the ones who determine that process for applications, interviewing, how you'd like us to do that. There's a lot of different ways to do it. And so in addition to the training, we would bring that back to you for consideration as well. Because again, you do set the budget. And so budget will be part of that discussion for training on how much you would allocate for us to do that. And based off of that budget for training, that's when we would kind of shift our resources to best fit the planning commission as well as best fit for that budget allocation.
Thank you. At the last meeting when we discussed this, I brought up the idea of a stipend for the planning commissioners, and I'm assuming which gets me in trouble a lot. But that would be something that would be addressed through any of the code amendments. So it doesn't have to be a decision that we make this evening.
Correct.
Thank you. I think that's all I have. Mr. McCoy, thank you for your patience. I'm back to you.
I'm actually going to probably address this to Juliana and John, and it's not a gotcha. I just, how many code amendments right now do we have that we're still waiting that are on the city attorney's desk?
Oh, on the city, Mr. Jared.
Yeah.
Could probably speak to.
No, I'm asking you two. I'm not asking Mr. Jared. Thank you.
Mr. McCoy, we briefly talked about this on Monday during our 9 a.m. meeting. Going offhand, there would be the, I believe I'd have to review my notes.
I didn't mean to give you a gotcha.
I know there's the rent control ordinance.
Yes, I think that's the only one we have slated at the, we have the rental control ordinance. We have some state updates to our accessory dwelling unit ordinance that Alia is working on right now. Mr. Jared's not going to be really needed for that besides just reviewing the final product because that's state mandated stuff. I have been working on a comprehensive update of your Title 15, Title 16, and Title 13, buildings and construction subdivision and zoning code. That'll be coming to you guys next year. So that's a pretty significant review, but he's not writing those. But yeah, and like I said, Mr. Jared could clarify if he is working on any others, but those are the ones that I'm aware of that would need his time and attention at this point.
Okay, so it looks like basically rent control and then perhaps ADUs in Title 16. And then I know we're starting an ad hoc committee for conduct, code of conduct. We've got an ad hoc committee that we're starting. We have 2 members already. I don't know who the others are, but that's again, we're still waiting on that is my understanding on his end. Is that?
I believe those 3 that you outlined. Correct.
Okay.
Madam Mayor,
I'm not finished, please. I'm sorry, Mr. Jared. So, I'm looking at active recruitment and I do want to say it, I've said it again, that the council has always reached out to bring in candidates for planning commission. Our council, that includes myself and my 4 others have not done an active job, whether it's now or 2 years ago. We've not done a good job. We've not been good council members as far as that goes, because that's something that we've always reached out to do, especially when we had 7 members. And again, I don't know how many years I was on. I have to go back and look, whether it was 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years on planning commission, and how many years I was on historic commission. For me, it wasn't a stepping stone. I never planned to run. It's been, like they say, it's like making sausage. If you see what goes on in here, you kind of go, wow, it's nasty. I don't want to be in there and I don't want to eat that. So, I mean, my concern would be that I don't want the council getting involved unless they absolutely have to. So I wouldn't want them taking over a meeting unless there was something of, I mean, tremendous. I mean, if we had a count, I don't mind taking it for the year. Don't get me wrong. I don't mind that. I don't want to see it 2 years down the line. I won't be here, but I don't want to see it where council has to step in and do work because we're missing a commissioner. If we are missing a commissioner for any reason other than, say, medical, I would say that commissioner really doesn't need to be there. And I'm pretty straight shooter. People that do this for adulation, money, whatever. I've got no use for that. So I just want to make sure that, that we have our code amendments done before because you're saying 32 minor code amendments is what you said, I think, Assistant City Manager, to take a hiatus. I don't know. Can we get that done? Can our attorney get 32 code amendments done in a year when we have difficulty with some of our getting our other code amendments done in a year or a year and a half? And John, you and I've spoken of this before, so.
They're very minor. I think really the majority of the work that's going to occur is going to be conversations with the city council in a formal setting, because when we take a look at I think what the code amendments that Mr. Jarrett are talking about are very different from what I've brought up with the 32 different sections. So Mr. Jarrett is really concerned with, if you do choose to go into hiatus, or even if you don't, we do need some kind of stopgap language immediately to be able to get applications to you, which, going back to an earlier thing, the items we would bring to you in the next year are going to be applications for permits that are typically assigned to the Planning Commission. So that'd be subdivision maps, which you have not done one in a very long time. Tentative parcel maps, which we seem to get 1 or 2 a year, which you hear anyway. The conditional use permits, variances, things like that. Really, most of those you hear as a secondary anyway, except for conditional use permits. And so there's another one that got changed as well, but variances, I think. But those would be the only things that would be brought to you. So the rest of what you hear anyway at a council is what you would hear, but you just would not have a planning commission recommendation. If we do have those types of things where you do need additional public input on those things, we can do that ahead of your meetings and have the conversation. But I think the majority of the work is going to be done within the planning department itself to clarify, answer that question of why you're not getting the participation that you want. But then after we answer that question, it's coming to you as a council of, how would you like this to work? What do you want the members to look like? Do you want to expand membership to allow, people in your sphere of influence? That's been done before. But a lot of these questions that I have for you would be ones in subsequent conversations once we clarify the direction you want to go. Really, our point tonight is to clarify, and I'm kind of hearing from you, we don't have public comment yet, but is to clarify if you want to get rid of it, keep it, or suspend it for a year. That's what we're deciding tonight. If we do suspend for a year, we would come back to you in January at that first quarter and go, okay, here's how we're going to do this. These are some of the decision points you need to make with us. And once we get those decision points from you, it gives us a better ability to do the ordinance updates. And I think they're very doable within the 6 months. So the first 2 quarters of next year, I think they're very doable to do in those 6 months. But the bulk of it is really clarifying with you 5, what would you like? Because it is your direction. And then we go from there for adapting it, because there's a lot of different ways to do this. And I think that's going to be the hardest part of this, is deciding what's the best fit for you.
Well, I mean, and I appreciate your response. It seems to me that it's more than just the 4 or 5 of us, because again, I'll go back to the code amendments. I mean, that's, if you're going to do them all, that's different. If we have to rely on the city attorney, then there's going to be time needed because our city attorney has other clients and has other stuff they're working on. I'm going to, again, this question is going to be for the two of you. Could you tell the council if, the city attorney has alluded to the fact that he's had to come up or be in, sit in, maybe Zooming on planning commission meetings? How many, about, do you know? I'm asking you to, not asking the attorney. And who would have involved him in that? Who would have said, we need you to be here?
I believe, to my recollection, there's only been 2 meetings where Mr. Jared has not been in attendance.
Has not been in
Correct.
attendance.
Not, because we haven't had an item that doesn't relate to an application. So my personal professional practice is to have your city attorney available when we are reviewing any type of judicial type of decision. So
Okay.
if we have a highly contentious item, like I said, conditional use permits, variances, Mr. Jared has been assisting us with communicating with the commissioners, similar to yourselves, if something is legal, if you can even do that. So I do typically request that the city attorney or someone from the firm is at attendance of those meetings. And as I stated before, the 2 meetings that I can recollect Mr. Jared not attending is, one was a general plan workshop item, which did not have anything that could be litigious. And I believe the other item was very similar, where it was a very non-litigious meeting, or it was an item that did not involve like a judicial review type of decision.
Might I ask, did the council give permission for you to involve our attorney in your meetings? I'm just asking,
Not in an
okay.
active meeting, no.
Because he doesn't work for you. He works for the 5 of us. And I mean, it's concerning to me that it's just not 2 meetings, because again, in my time on planning commission, never once did, whether I was sitting on it or as the chair, never once did we have a city attorney or any attorney there. So that's disconcerting that everything is apparently now so litigious. I mean, California's a litigious state. You could, for $35, you can sue, you know, what it costs to put an injunction in for the spotted owl, you know, 20, 30, and shut down a mill and bankrupt them. But, yeah, that's okay. That's just, I needed that answer because that's very disconcerting to me. So, because that is not what we pay Andrew to do. That's not why he's there. He's here to work for the 5 of us. If we, you know, get together and you get together with us and tell us, hey, I need him here, and this is the reason why we do it in a meeting or a closed session or something like that, then at that point in time, you know, we can vote on that and decide whether or not. But, you know, I mean, probably theoretically, he only answers to the mayor is what our last attorney, Don Henyon, told us. But that's why we always ask permission from the mayor before we were to call Don Henyon. We were supposed to ask for permission. So, okay, well, I mean, like I said, I appreciate your candor. Thank you. I'm done.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Just a second, Mr. Jared.
Yes.
Are there any other questions before? Okay. Mr. Jared.
Yeah, let's be very clear. I work for the city council, a majority of the city council. I take direction from the city council. As for attendance at planning commission meetings, there have been, I'm looking at the agenda center right now. It's cancellation. There was a meeting in April, cancellation, meeting in June. And so there've been 2 meetings this year, as far as I can see. I don't recall being asked to attend either one of those. There was the meetings that were for the transit center project. I was asked to appear at those, and I did. There was one other meeting where I was asked to attend that I can recall during my tenure here, and the meeting was over before it started for lack of quorum. So those are my thoughts. I mean, this is all kind of a red herring. I believe it is my duty to attend planning commission meetings, and it is typical that I do attend planning commission meetings for clients, or at least be available to. And then staff advises if they need me. That's typical. And so I'm not working for staff in that capacity. I'm working for the city council. So I just wanted to
And
clarify that.
that's your belief, sir.
As,
That's your
as for,
belief.
Mr. McCoy, Mr.
as
Chair,
for,
I think that we're kind of getting off topic here, and so I'd like to bring us back to the
there's
discussion.
just one other point I need to clarify, and that is the workload. There were questions being asked of staff on that, of the ordinances. There was a question last, or a statement made last meeting regarding the ordinances that were in the queue. The only one I'm aware of, and the only one that was stated now, let's just very clearly clarify, is the mobile home rent control ordinance. And I was prepared to bring that next meeting. But staff is asking that that come due to staffing issues, the meeting after in November. That is the only ordinance that I've been tasked to work on. The other ordinances that were mentioned, as Juliana said, are staff driven and staff created. I will review those as required under state law, but there is not a large backload of ordinances that are being waited upon.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to bring us back to the discussion of what we're going to decide to do with the Planning Commission. So if the council has no further questions of staff, I'm going to go ahead and open it up for public comment at this time. Thank you.
Lorenzo Love, let's be clear why there's nobody on the planning commission. The city has refused to advertise vacancies on the commission. When's the last time something was put out saying we need people on the planning commission? Don't tell me social media. I check Facebook every day. City of Wairika Facebook every day. Not there. Nobody knows, and you need people on the planning commission because you won't ask people. This isn't an oversight. This crisis, if you want to call it a crisis, is entirely of the city's making. You let the city planning commission wither away deliberately. Yeah. The city already has a problem with lack of transparency. This last meeting, it was supposed to be in lieu of a public meeting, in lieu of a planning commission meeting. That wasn't publicized either. The only notice was a piece of paper taped to the window. You expect every person in the city to come by and read the window. There needs to be changes here. The planning commission worked very well. I attended for the last 3 years. A few people didn't show up. They got sent away, but you never advertise for new replacements. You got to do that. And to compound this lack of transparency, now you want to do away with this citizen oversight committee for a year. Who's going to believe you? Who among the citizens is going to trust this city when you got rid of the planning commission? Not accidentally, not because of the planning commission's action, but because the city refused to advertise for vacancies. You lost confidence among the citizens, what little you had before.
Louise Gliotto, Wairika. This is getting to be a habit. I'm always agreeing with you lately, and that's scary. I agree with Mr. Love entirely. The last meeting that they had was like a quasi planning commission meeting. It was called a public forum. And the only reason I knew about it is because somebody saw it taped to the window and called me and asked me if I was going. I called the city's office, talked to one of the staffers, and I asked about the meeting, what it was about, when was it, where was it? And that person didn't know. So your staff didn't even know that a meeting was being planned. And so then that person then got to either Juliana or is it Ilya? I hope I'm saying it correctly. Either one of them, and they were told, yes, there was a meeting. When we got here to the meeting, there was 4 of us here. And when we asked about the meeting and why it wasn't publicized, we were told that that was not the purpose of the meeting and that we were not to talk about that. We were only to talk about what was on the agenda. And so I have not felt that the city has done a very good job of letting people know about the vacancies here. I had suggested at one meeting that you put it in the water bill because most people get it unless maybe you're a renter and maybe you're the person that you rent from pays for the bill and you don't ever see it. But that's one way to let people know. Unfortunately, we don't have a newspaper. Unfortunately, we don't have a radio station anymore. So that is one way to let people know. The other way is to let people know is social media, but put it on a social media that people go to. Actually, your Facebook page is boring and the city webpage is boring. People don't use those. They use all the other county social medias. So I think the reason that you haven't got anybody applying for it is you haven't let people know. And then you haven't made it clear as to what requirements are made of someone who's on planning commissions. I've asked people, what do I need to know? Do I need qualifications? What are my qualifications? I think that would be helpful if you let people know. And if you also let people know, because it's kind of scary to get on something and not know what you're doing, especially planning, is that you're planning on doing some training and people would do that. So I don't think you've done a very good job, really, that letting people know about. I think that is the problem. And then I think in screening people for the planning commission, I applied for the planning commission. There were people here that applied for the planning commission. And one of the persons that you put on the planning commission didn't even show up when you had your vote on who should be on the planning commission. To me, that would be a red flag that this person wasn't really serious. And then that person never showed up when you swore them in and never came to any of the meetings. So I think in your selection, ought to be more careful in your selection and who you're picking and not make it so political or personalize it on, who your friends are, or who you like better than someone else. But I think you need to do a much better job. And I hate to see the planning commission go away. I think that it's really important for citizens to be involved on every part of government they possibly can. I think it's a shame that you don't have more people here tonight. I appreciate the fact that you film these meetings because some people can't make it. And I've made a suggestion that you allow the Zoom to come back so that people can participate in the meeting when they're at home. A lot of people can't sit here that long in a meeting. They have to make bathroom breaks. And there's no bathroom very readily accessible to people that need frequent bathroom breaks. So I think if you encourage people to attend these meetings and encourage them to participate, I think you would have better results. And I think frankly, I'm against you having a hiatus for a year because you'll lose people and no one will come back. And nothing is ever temporary in government. When you say it's going to be a year, it'll never come back. So that's my concern. So anyway, I think that you should not, and I don't think that the city council should be burdened with that. You have enough on your plate as it is. You have enough things that you have to review. And I think that the planning commission could be very helpful and useful to the city council. Thank you.
Jan Osborne. In short, ditto what Lorenzo said and ditto what Louise said. Thank you.
Del Mariatri. I was a planning commissioner. I resigned because I felt that there was a Brown Act violation. We had 5 people and we met all the time and we did great. We did great work. And then we had Amy Fernandez who wouldn't show up, and finally she quit. And then Pete who had to resign for health reasons. There was 3 of us, which makes a quorum. And as far as I'm aware, when I was sworn in, the rules that I went by was that we, as a body, voted for who was going to be chair. We were, after a year and a half, we were brought in for a meeting, and the meetings kept getting canceled, not because we weren't going to be here. We were all 3 going to be here. The meetings kept getting canceled because stuff was settled in-house and completely gone around us. And then we come in and the chair is Brian Devlin. I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with that we didn't vote him in. That was our right. And as I understand it, it's a Brown Act violation that you all allowed this violation to happen. You should never allow someone to violate the law. That should matter to you. Always. And you should do something about that, because that is unforgivable. And that is why I resigned. And when I resigned, there was still 2. But after I resigned, you've got 4 applications, which you also have Brian Devlin. You got 5. You got a quorum of 5. There's absolutely no reason to put this off for a year. What you need to do is take those applications, get them filled out, and, interview these people and get this panel back together. And then also, from here on out, you need to pay more attention to what's going on under your own roof. Paul is right. Before, all of the council members paid attention. Every now and again, there would be a council member out here in the audience. And that was okay. Checking on what you're doing, checking on the committees. You should be doing that. And it also should be volunteer. There's no reason to pay somebody. And as I remember Drake Davis sitting there saying, give me the money, give us the money, we want the money. The council needs more money. I would see that the council also be volunteer. If you can't do this out of the goodness of your heart for your city, what the hell are you doing sitting here? Get up. Go for it.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and close public comment since all the public that's here has commented, and bring it back to the council for further discussion.
I'll go.
Mr. Middleton?
Council Middleton, I would be for that we put the planning commission on hiatus for a year. I think with listening to several audience members and come up, there's a lot of changes that we need to make. And I will take accountability here, sitting here, saying that I wasn't involved as much as I should have been as the mayor. I was not informed on a lot of things that have happened. I heard from through a planning commissioner that what was going on, we were never informed who has departed. So I will sit here and take accountability that some of the fault lies on me, that I did not pay attention as my tenure of mayor sitting in the seat, and a lot of them have vacated under my watch. So I will take accountability, and I apologize for not doing that, but I see there's many changes that need to be made. And I don't think we just need to rush and vote people in because we have 5 people and let's get them in here. No, there's changes that need to be made with our staff. We need to be having updates weekly. So there's a laundry list of things that I have for the planning commission. And there's a laundry list of things that I'm gonna want to do in the city the next 3 years that I'm here. And with that, I would vote that, or not vote, but direct staff that we go on a hiatus for 1 year, a maximum 1 year. And whatever changes that Mr. Jared needs to make to say that we're going to be able to do that, have him do that and expedite that immediately so we can get going on the direction of the future of the Planning Commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Middleton. Mr. McCoy?
Mr. Middleton, are you referring to option 2? Or option 1? I think it's option 2, but I just want to make sure.
3. 1 year hiatus. And just redo and revisit the whole Planning Commission structure.
You'll be looking at the wrong paper because I see an option 1 and an option 2.
Page 213, Mr. McCoy?
I see no option 3. I see an option 1 on page 212, and option 2, another option 2 at the bottom of 212. And then I just see on 213 a paragraph that is 220.010 created. I'm just trying to make sure we're on the same page. That's all.
Number 3. Page 3.
Okay. Okay, but it's not on this page from Andrew Jarrett. Okay.
Oh.
I don't see it on the page from our city attorney. Okay. Thank you. You've answered my question.
Mr. Clerk?
I understand where everything's coming from, and I agree that. Sorry. And I agree that transparency is important, 100%. And I'm sorry about your experience. I didn't know about that, so I do apologize for what it's worth. I also feel though that to do this job right, we need to evaluate the position and do it properly. So we actually have a commission that holds and doesn't just disband or fall apart. I feel that though definitely option 2 is something I like. I want to keep the Planning Commission, but I do believe that the hiatus might be needed. However, I want to see us do it less than a year. I feel that we can handle this and do it less than a year, because I don't want that to go out to the people that it's going to take us a year to do this. And I'm not trying to put your guys' feet to the fire. I know you guys are busy. I'm just saying as a wish on my part or a goal would be to do this much sooner than a year. I know that that's a possibility. We could work together and get it done in a year and get all these things knocked out so we can get the proper people in so we can actually go down a good path. So I would be for the hiatus, but I would really like to ask for this to be expedited as efficiently as possible within the means of what can be done. Again, not to throw more on your guys' plates. I know you're busy. So, okay. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Madam Mayor. Can I echo on?
Mr. Middleton?
Can I echo on Councilman Clear? Is there any way we can shorten the instead of January through March, maybe like January and February, shorten them to 2 months? Would that work?
And bring it back in
And-
6 months?
Yeah.
So we could go out for RFP and get a consultant to do it, but we do not currently have the staffing to
Okay.
do our day-to-day operations as well as the other projects we have
Okay.
committed to.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And just to note, again, we would start recruitment in October. So I understand that we presented you a 4-quarter timeline, but
Okay.
the idea is to start recruitment in October. So
Okay. Thank you.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor, just as a reminder, we do have a motion on the table currently from Councilmember Middleton.
yes, you did make a motion to go
Oh.
with the hiatus.
I didn't catch
Oh.
that.
Oh, I didn't know. I thought it was this discussion only. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you just said you made the motion for number 3 and then you started discussing your motion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I make the motion for option number 3, Council Middleton.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor from Councilmember Middleton to put the Planning Commission on a hiatus for a time period not to exceed 1 year.
I'll second it.
I have a motion from Councilmember Middleton, second by Councilmember Claire, to put the Planning Commission on a hiatus for a time period not to exceed a year. Will the clerk please take a roll call vote?
All those in favor for putting the planning commission on hiatus for a time period not to exceed a year, please signify by saying aye. Councilmember McCoy,
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton, Councilmember Claire,
Aye.
and Councilmember Baker.
Yes,
Thank you. The motion passes.
Thank you.
the motion passes with Councilmember Davis absent. Okay, thank you so much. Item F is the city manager and staff reports. Mr. Elsnap, good evening.
Good evening, council. I have some updates for the council tonight. So I want to give an update on the Greenhorn Reservoir. We have 2 reservoir park hosts that we have given offer letters to. I don't have a start date to share tonight. I will tell you though that we are trying to get them on, but we will try to get them onboarded.
Sorry. I don't know why there's all.
That we will try to get them onboarded as soon as possible and at the reservoir to help members of the community. Additionally, we've also been able to hire our part-time parks position, which is kind of a seasonal, less than 960 hours a year. That position also helps out at Greenhorn cleaning the facilities, as well as doing the local trash route around the community. So those are 3 really important spots that we'll have onboarded soon. The community services officer position is posted. It's posted online. We're still building an applicant pool. At some point, we will put interviews together and move forward with that. For the fire department, I have some good news. We have 1 candidate near completion of the pre-employment process. So that would be number 2. And then we also made 1 additional offer today that was accepted for a fire engineer. So we'll be up to 3 full-time paid positions with the goal of 6. We're also waiting for the SAFER grant to be approved. Although with the federal shutdown, I believe that's going to be delayed for some time. As the public requested, there's been tree and brush removal done at Deer Creek Park. I want to thank the Public Works Department for spending some time on the Greenway, even though the Greenway is technically still closed. I want to point that out. The wastewater department also did an excellent job clearing the brush on the west side of Deer Creek. And then lastly, per his permission, I wanted to let the council know that Brian Morrison is going to retire from the city on October 11th. I want to thank Brian for his 25 years of public service, primarily as a safety dispatcher, and wish him the best in retirement. I did ask him for permission before announcing this tonight, and I really wish Brian the best moving forward and thank him for his years of service with the city. With that said, that concludes staff reports, and I don't believe we have any other reports from department heads tonight. Oh yeah, absolutely, Jared.
Also, real quick, if I may, Lola is tomorrow night being hosted by the town of Fort Jones. Just as a reminder.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Jerry Lemus, your fire chief. So upon request, I wanted to kind of give you guys a real quick update. I think I brought it up in past meetings some time ago, so you may not all be aware. But some time ago when we were going through trying to determine how we could eliminate or reduce some of the lift assists we had, which were due to fall patients, anywhere from just recent surgeries to elderly people that don't have anyone to help them out, and they were falling frequently and were going to their homes. With urging from different people that had an interest, meaning Fairchild Medical, Wairika Fire Department, the YMCA, and others, we put together what's called the Fall Prevention Coalition. We're actually going to meet again tomorrow for the first time since probably April. But it's a great group of people that are really committed to what they're doing. So this, what I brought today is just what we pass out to people. We have them in our fire apparatus, so mainly the medical rescue unit. So if we find someone that is in need of help, we just hand them this and go through everything and explain some of the brochures that are in here with PSA2 Area Agency on Aging is one, Syracuse County Public Health is another. So they have all kinds of resources that are available to them. And we're kind of the main point of contact. You know, we first want to kind of find out what's going on or realize that there is a problem. So That's kind of a work in progress. We're still meeting actively. They've had some workshops at the YMCA. So if you know someone that might utilize that or want to have a referral or something of that nature, feel free to reach out to myself or one of the board members from the YMCA, which currently, James, are you still on the YMCA? So you're aware of it, but there's a lot of people that are there to help them out. So I wanted to make you aware of that if you didn't already know. So stay tuned. In addition to that, we're still just, busy as all get out with calls here and there. Got some great news from California Fire Foundation. They approved a grant for $15,000 for radio equipment that we had applied for. So that was one that we didn't even know existed, but one of our esteemed employees, Mr. Phil Anzo, found that and we applied and got it. So we actually applied, City Fire Department and the association both applied, but we got one of them. So, and the big one is we just found out about a week and a half ago that we were successful in the Assistance to Firefighters grant from the federal government, FEMA, for $210,000. And then 10,000 will be our portion to our match. So 5%, that's pretty good for what we're going to get. So it'll replace all of our self-contained breathing apparatus. They're very expensive and they're expensive to maintain. We have to have an annual check on those, and that runs us $1,000 a year for all the ones we have. So it'll supply 25 air packs. So the bottle, we get a spare bottle, a mask, and the unit itself. So that's huge. That's going to replace ours that are anywhere from 12 to 20 years old. So, and they say you get around 10 years old, you should be replacing them, but it's going to help out the budget tremendously. So I wanted to share that with you. So
Great news.
you bet. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for providing the information about your lift assist or fall prevention program. I appreciate that. Okay, item G, Mayor, council members, reports, statements, and requests. Mr. McCoy?
I want to say thank you to the city and to Resource Center. I went a couple times by the park last weekend. The kids had a great time. There was not a place to park anywhere close, and the kids were all having a good time at that Kids Day. So I know we have more of them planned. I know the city is supporting that. I appreciate that. Congratulations to Brian Morrison. I can remember when I moved here 40 years ago and when he started there at YPD, and he's always been there, and he's always been active as a dispatcher, and I appreciate what he's done. So I was going to add, and I know you're working on this already, John, so I'm not trying to, but if we could continue to try and work with Caltrans to get the Greenway area, to get the, I'm worried about Minor Street. If we have, I know we're supposed to have a mild winter, but if we have, we've got so much debris and logs and trees growing right behind PP&L and the old Literals Auto Parts, clear over to the other side. If you continue to work with Caltrans, I know they're not easy to work with. They weren't easy to work with when they did the highway, but it would be in their advantage to help us there so that we don't end up with a drive area that might be destroyed in a big storm. I want to thank you, John, for your time so far in the interim position. I hope that our body can come to some kind of a conclusion about where we're going, whatever that might be. But I want to thank you. The time that you spent with me been valuable, just like Jason was. You've shared a lot of things with me and a lot of things that you think that I do okay, and things that you say, well, Paul, you need to look at yourself, and I appreciate that. I do. Jerry, kudos. Thank you for, I had people asking me about permits. Thank you for taking my call. Thank you for giving me a succinct answer, which is what I have been giving to people when they ask me, but including the ones asking on Facebook. So thank you very much, sir. And YPD, I have been, when people are telling me that I've had several calls just in the last couple of weeks. It's not overwhelming, but I mean, regarding dogs, and being off leash or following people or whatever. I just have said, you need to call YPD. You need to let them know there, because even if we had an ACO, they are not authorized to write citations because they don't have the same training you guys do. And I said, the police will do it. Just give them a call, let them know. an address or whatever. So anyway, thank you very much. And thank you to Lieutenant as well. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Middleton?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I attended the COC meeting and I forgot my notes at home, so I apologize. But one item that was on the agenda is the Sisseton County Behavioral Health is looking to relocate their building off of Campus Drive. It's outdated, they lease it. And a lot of mandates coming down from the state of California for services they provide. They can't host that building. They've identified this public meeting, identified the Rite Aid building. I will go on record saying I'm against that because I approved the letter for funding. That's going to be, they said it's going to be very competitive, very hard to get. So who knows if they'll get the funding to build a new building. I would like to see another business go into Rite Aid because I've been getting a lot of complaints about people who live in the downtown area or right here. They don't want to go either down to, the north end of town or out to the south end of town. There's no little grocery or drugstore open anymore since we lost Rite Aid. A lot of people stopped there. So I did call the Sisseton Economic Development Council today. They do have a board together that are trying to recruit a business going in there, a like grocery store, pharmacy, or something. So they're working that. So I was happy to hear that. Let's see. I will be attending Lola tomorrow night. Couple of things, John. First off, before I get into that, I did receive, I've known Brian Morrison for quite a few years. Our moms were born, or my mom and dad, or my dad, his mom were born in the hospital at the same time. So I've known Brian's family for a long time. Brian is an outstanding guy, an honest guy. I appreciate everything he done at YPD. It's hard to believe 25 years ago that he started as a dispatcher and I wish him well. He was just a very dedicated employee and it's a big loss for the YPD and a big loss for the city of Wairika. The Red Schoolhouse. Mr. Bray came before us and said it needed some repairs. I was by there today. The repairs have not been done. The pigeons are still getting into the upper schoolhouse. It's looking pretty bad. It's crumbling. We need to secure that, as far as I'm concerned, before the weather hits, because it's going to get damaged if the rain starts getting in there. And I noticed that the homeless is starting to gather. I can tell they're trying to get in. So if we need to board the windows, then that's what we need to do. That building needs to be secured until we know what the council, what we're going to do with that building. But I hate to see them get inside and trash it because it is a pretty cool building, but it's going to have some rehab and we're going to have to find out some money to do that down the road. So we do need to get it secured before winter if possible. Kids on motorcycles and unlicensed young kids. I almost ran one over. She almost hit me the other day on North and Langway, North Street and Langway. She came flying down. She could have been older than 10. She almost lost control, almost hit the front of my car as I'm trying to yield. And I think she was startled. But we have a lot of younger kids on these bikes going up North Street, Meadowlark, just flying. And they're motorbikes, they're young kids, young teenagers. So we, I know the YPD can only be not everywhere, but if we can step up the patrols in the neighborhood, it's usually between 3 and 5, and it's usually on weekends too. But 3 and 5 when they get out of school, or whatever is when they're flying around the cemetery, flying around Meadowlark, Lawrence Lane, Turry Street, North Street, that area, it's getting out of hand. So if we could ask our YPD to start trying to get them, I know they're fast little buggers. I've been getting calls from business owners and private property owners with homeless invading some of the hidden areas. And as I stated up here, I knew when we got rid of Homeless Hill, this was going to be a problem. They're going to go into the covered areas. They're going to hide, and that's what they're doing. So I've been having a lot of complaints with the business owners in the creek, behind Rayleigh's, Linda Soup Kitchen, Taco Bell, all those areas. And private properties, they can trespass them. But I understand, you know, the chief can correct me if he wants to come up. He doesn't have to come up. But I've been told our district attorney is not even prosecuting or won't even look at a trespass ticket. And that's very disturbing to me. So their hands are tied. Our business owners are suffering, our creeks are looking bad, and our private owners are suffering now. So I don't know what we're going to do about it, but it is a problem. And we get a handle on it before it gets out of control. So that's the bad news. The good news is I appreciate Chief Lemus's report. That's good news for the fire department. The good news about Greenhorn, that is excellent. We're moving in the right direction, but there's still some things that are hindering in our city that we need to address. We need to address immediately. And with that, I will end. I'll be at Lula tomorrow night. And thank you, Madam Mayor. Oh, one more thing, and please reserve the my spot for the agenda next meeting for the city hall to be reopened on Fridays.
Okay.
All right. And I will be giving 3 options for the council regarding the hours. So, but if I can get that spot back, I know I haven't been a little busy, haven't wrote my reasoning why or bring it for the council, but, and it's not discussion, I'm going to ask for action that meeting for it to be opened. One of 3 items.
My understanding is, Councilmember Middleton, that it starts out at discussion, then it gets brought, if there's consensus, excuse me, then it would be brought back for action. Is that correct or is that incorrect?
Well, yeah, I would like to have action that night with 3 other options I'll present. But I would like to take action on it that evening.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk.
I just want to say congratulations to Brian for his years of service, and he will be missed, and greatly appreciate everything he's done. And I will be at Lola tomorrow night, and thank you.
Thanks. So regarding Brian Morrison, would it be appropriate for the city to present him with a plaque of appreciation? If so, Mr. Elsnap, would you make that happen? And I'm not sure of his retirement date, but if we could have him, if he would agree to come to the next meeting, if we can get the plaque done, I'd like to see that. I'm looking at both of you, so yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I have quite a few things on my list. First one was that I attended the Board of Supervisors meeting today in support of in-home support service workers. I had no idea that in-home support service workers who are caretakers that are paid by state funds, they are actually in Siskiyou County, they are the lowest paid throughout the state. And so they are asking for a raise. And a couple of weeks ago, I had a provider and her client come to see me on a Friday afternoon. And they brought up that there are not people willing to be in-home support service workers because of the low wages, the low number of hours. And they pointed out some of the benefits of having more workers in the community throughout the county. And one of those was that it could possibly cut down on calls to the fire department for lift assist. Because if people have that help in their homes, they wouldn't necessarily need to call the fire department or an ambulance. So just that point alone, I was like, I had no idea. So I appreciated the opportunity to be with that group today. On September 22nd, I attended the Citizen of the Year committee meeting with Councilmember Clerk and the rest of the committee. Last Saturday night, I attended the Beef and Brew, and my family and I, we had a great time. It was a wonderful event. It was just very lighthearted, and it was fun to see so many people just out laughing and enjoying themselves. I'll continue this week. I'll have chamber hours from 2:30 to 3:30. I also will be attending the Lola meeting tomorrow night. So if possible, could we carpool together? And maybe we can talk about that after the meeting. If that's possible. Mr. Elsnab, a couple of things for you. In August, I asked for the building permit activity reports to start coming back to the council. I haven't seen those yet, and I will confess that I've had problems with my email, so I may have missed those. To like probably the rest of the council members, I'm receiving a lot of reports of homeless people camping on private property, and the private property owners are receiving conflicting information of what their options are. And I too have heard that perhaps the county district attorney is not too excited about handling those complaints. But I really think that I agree with Mr. Middleton that we really need to get a jump on this and get going with it. So, Mr. Elsnab, we talked about this briefly, but if you could arrange set up a meeting between the chief of police, the district attorney, Supervisor Ogren, as well as the mayor pro tem and myself, so that we just all can maybe have an understanding of what the processes are, if there are any, and if we have any options. And in the event that it's a conflict for you, Councilmember Claire, I would ask that Councilmember Middleton would be included in that. And in closing, I would just like to say that I built an entire career on transparency and accountability. And that is very, very important to me to maintain that. I heard some things this evening from members of the community that I don't quite agree with, but a lot of it I do agree with. I always think that government can always do a better job of being transparent. And because of that, I am resurrecting the Communications Ad Hoc Committee. And Mr. Elsnab, I would like Mr. Middleton and myself to be on that committee. And we can talk about that at one of our Friday meetings to get those meetings going. I think that we've made some really good progress as far as how we communicate what's going on with the city. I always think that we can do better. I love our new website, and I disagree that it's boring, but I'm a government girl. So I find a lot of really good information on that. I keep hearing over and over again, because it's true, Siskiyou County has no local newspaper. We have no radio station. Oh, thank you, Skip. I'm sorry. We have very little news reporting, and I do appreciate your presence here. I know that you're here most of the time. But because of that, and because these meetings are televised, I have asked Mr. Elsnab to start making arrangements that once a month we do have a community group or an agency come in and do a presentation, so that people that watch the meetings can get information that way. So this evening we heard from Teen Challenge. If you have any agencies or organizations that you feel that the citizens would benefit from hearing from during a 10-minute brief presentation, please provide information to Mr. Elsnab, but we are going to start seeing those presentations once a month. So
would that be the time? Maybe that would be the time to have Mr. Andrews come in and give us a 10-minute presentation. because I am concerned, and James will never say anything because he's very quiet, but we put James as an investigator for the DA's office in a tight spot when we ask him to come in and talk about things that he may or may not agree with his boss. I think it would probably behoove you to have Corey rather than James, because I don't want to put James in that spot. We have a good relationship with the DA through James, and whether or not we agree with him or not. I mean, the DA, but I don't want to see Mr. Claire put it in I'm not saying anything to you it's a tight spot. I've been there in education.
Okay, all right. Well, we have no other business on the agenda. So with that, I'm going to adjourn the meeting at 8:54.